Barbershop conversation, guys. Feel free, hit the subscribe button. Hit the subscribe button. I apologize. I got a, I got a malfunction on one of my sensors, so that is gonna go off. So, um, it, Jesus. Anyways, quick 9 wives, and it's a great holiday stuff. All right, let's talk about. I had a chance to watch Real Boxing Talk um, this morning, and I'm just gonna take it a step further in my perspective. I saw I, the the comment that Bruce Trampler had, and like I say, even though he's responding to the young man in context, um, because the the gentleman responded in a racial tone, and Bruce Trampler responded using his words against him in that within that context. Um, so it's totally on you how you perceive it. As I say this, um, I never trusted them anyway. Like, I interview Bob Arum to give you guys game. I interview everybody. I challenge everybody on the truth, so you guys have the answers to the test. And still, we go back thinking that we're going to change them. Bruce Trampler is in a position of power. It doesn't matter. He's not governed by the government. He's governed by the decisions he and his team makes. And the same thing applies to the WBC. There, Mauricio Sulman is governed by the people who pay him. Simply that. And if he don't value Devin Haney's money, so be it. Now, what I say is, uh, she said something important, and I'm going to agree with her. She said that she's waiting on Crawford to respond to this. Well, I believe the same thing got to be held for Team Haney. You know what I mean? Bill Haney, which I agreed with, came out and said something in response to Eddie Hearn versus what's the young man? Oh man, I'm hungry, man. I'm depleted right now. Just left the gym. Leonard Ellaby. Leonard Ellaby. He responded to Leonard Ellaby, so why shouldn't he respond to the WBC? And uh, I've done my part. You know, I've attempted to do more for the sport of boxing as it pertains to these athletes, and they won't take my advice. You won't take my advice. I did the. I believe I threw the greatest lob I possibly could have done is create Devin Haney versus Gary Russell, and then black people want to talk about who's ducking. I told Bill and I told Gary. I says if this fight don't happen, y'all careers are going to resemble one another. Simply put, you know, and uh, um, and that's the truth. I've done my part. I've interviewed Mauricio Sulman on behalf of Haney, so he knows the truth, and still we go back to them and expecting them to change. They're not changing. All right. And the people that are a part of the establishment don't enjoy their view. They like looking down on peasants like me and uh, everyone else, you know. So at the end of the day, I don't think I'm going to disagree with Trill and them. Why are we waiting for Cambosis? Cambosis is a part of the establishment now. I think the same way I created my platform independent of the establishment, the same way 78 created the LDBC independent of the establishment. I think that's what we gotta encourage these fighters to do, and we gotta encourage these fans to start thinking like that. Like I said, we can't ask these fighters to stand up and fight for an undisputed fight. I think it's a contradiction. I genuinely believe it, you know, and we're gonna have a great conversation on this tonight in the barbershop. We got a guest for the first 30 minutes, and then after that, we're gonna powwow on this, man. And The elite want to stay in power, y'all. And I'm gonna take it back to when I interviewed Craig Hodges. Craig Hodges sat down with Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson and said we should boycott the NBA Finals. They said no. Chris Paul was the leader of the NBA Players Association and the leader of the Clippers when the Donald Sterling incident occurred. They chose to play. Colin Kaepernick sued the NFL, accepted the money from the NFL, and sealed the case. He agreed for the case to be sealed so it can never be opened again, not unless an employee wants to open up the case. I mean, wants to give the, and it will happen at some point, you know. But at the end of the day, we get in our own way of progress. Um, LeBron James. LeBron James had a chance during COVID when that young man in Milwaukee was murdered. I mean, excuse me, shot, paralyzed now. And LeBron James chose to play basketball and sell Nike t-shirts. These are facts. I'm not talking about him being a great father, him being a great mentor, him making his friends filthy rich. I'm talking about social change. People compromise social change for profit. And people say, why did Malcolm X die broke? Because he didn't compromise social change for profit. You know, Kyrie Irving, how much money has he sacrificed? He probably makes what, $500,000 a game, maybe? I don't know. He got a max deal. And you know what I said? I didn't want to get involved because it's exhausting, and I'm coming off of a year of being fully exhausted, and I'm getting back to myself, and I want to focus on my projects that's going to challenge the cowardness in black people. Um, I thought James Harden and Kevin Durant shouldn't have played. That's what I thought. I thought the NBA should have got behind them. It shouldn't be about free choice. It shouldn't be about whether they convinced us to rage against you took it, I didn't take it. No, it's about choice. That's what it's about. Hmm. So I said all this to say this. They convinced you not to trust a guy like me. But just like Bob Arum and Al Heyman, I too graduated from a college that produced a US president. I'm educated just like them. I'm savvy just like them. Yeah, they've done more deals than me, but I have the aptitude to tell you guys and give you guys the game. And now we're in a precarious position now. We're in a position that I wanted them not to be in. I did my part. When I chose not to go back to my credentials, I gave up thousands of dollars a month, and I gave up my ability to ever have a chance at the Hall of Fame. In 20 years, it's no doubt I'm a Hall of Fame journalist. It's no doubt. My body of work at 60, I'm 44. So by the time I turn 65, I'll have a body of work that will be worthy of their Hall of Fame. But I know once I gave up my credential, I am no longer a part of that establishment. And that's what we got to get to. We say boxing is racist, but we raise their belts in the air. We say boxing is racist and we take their checks. I say we enjoy boxing being racist. We enjoy cashing the checks. We enjoy boxing being racist as long as it's slanted towards us. One of the reasons why, I'm gonna tell you guys another story, and go check the interview. You guys can see it. I think it was on camera or off camera, but I know it was for the Jake Paul fight, Logan Paul, Jake Paul KSI fight. I was walking with Eddie Hearn. I was with L, my boxing trainer, and Eddie Hearn offered me a job right then and there. He says, you know, not too many people like you, but you should come on over here with me. And you know, I always just smile and take it, but in my heart, I'm like, no, you're a part of the establishment. I could have took that little money that he would offer me to be his American correspondent, and whether he was serious or whether he was joking, it honestly depends on my response. Keep it a buck. I don't want a job with the Zone. I don't want a job with Fox. I could have listen, guys. I could have interviewed for the Fox job. I could have. If I could have pushed the envelope, they didn't invite me to do the interviews, but I could have. Yeah, man. You know, and so I've given up the because I think you guys need to hear it from the perspective of a person that chose not to be famous, that chose not to take millions from them. I chose to do it my way. I chose to run my own marathon. And I think we got to get back to that, or get to that, Team Crawford, Team Haney. I mean, the world is looking. The world is watching. And we can hide behind the word racist and racism, but that's just like voting Democrat, right? There's no difference between fighting the WBC and expecting change and voting Democrat and expecting America to change. It's not changing. You got to change yourself. You got to create a United States within your last name. You got to make the United States of Jones, the United States of Marquez, the United States of Hawthorne. That's what you got to do to be free. I'm free. I just came from the gym. It's 1:30 here in LA. And I had one job to do. My one job to do was to call my plumber because I had a leak, and his job was to fix it. Got it done. That was my job today. Now I'm gonna go home and I'm in the garage. I'm done for the day. It's 1:30. I lift weights. I box. We got to get back to the freedom, man. We chasing the bag too much, guys. We got to start developing our integrity and our character and our moral compass before we even get on the bag. Because listen, here's the truth. Bob Arum don't need uh, uh, juggernauts in boxing, because all he needs is one good fighter, and he's gonna buy a cheap fighter in South America and Asia and the South Pacific and pay him $20,000. Pay the A fighter $1 million. The card only cost him $1.3 million. The network gave him $2 million to put it on. He profits $700 for one card. Bob Arum is comfortable doing that 50 times a year. Do you understand? Same thing holds true. And then we go back to Leonard Elby. Leonard Elby said, I ain't got the money to pay a Devin Haney. So what does that tell you? If the quote unquote, if the white man ain't gonna give it to you and the black man ain't gonna pay you, that means you got to get it out the mud. I've done my part. Like, I've literally done my part. I've explained to you guys over and over and over and over and over again, but y'all think Floyd's green print is the navigation. It's not the navigation. Floyd fumbled the biggest bag in the history, probably in modern day sports. Modern day sports, he fumbled the bag. He could have been 10 times as powerful as a promoter as he was as a fighter. No doubt about it. And if he would have started his promotions, if he would have invested that $18 million in his promotional company instead of that watch, you know how much further Mayweather Promotions could have been? Instead of him flying over the Olympics, he just should stop at the Olympics for 2 days and then went to where he needed to be. He took short money. He took the $100,000, $500,000 appearance fee instead of getting the next Floyd Mayweather. Shakur Stevenson, they didn't even make an offer at him. So go figure, man. I only can tell you guys the truth, and this is out of love. Do I want Devin Haney to succeed? Yeah, he's one of my favorite fighters. I want him to win. Like, it's not, but I can't sit here. Like, and I always got to say this to make it make sense. I told Deontay Wilder I would have stopped the fight. And he says, I love you, Fred. I know you want the fight to stop, but I felt I could have gone on. I said, D, I saw enough. And it doesn't, my truth doesn't move from person to person. I gotta tell people the truth because I want them at the top, at the apex of their mountain. I want y'all to be successful. And I know because I don't speak in metaphors, it comes off as abrasive. It comes off as, oh, Fred don't love you. He a hater. I do. I swear before God, God's honest truth. I'm looking forward to the day a fighter steps out on his own and does it his way. There's no such thing as a co-promotional deal in boxing. The network is in charge. Whoever pays you is in charge. So for the PBC fighters, to the DAZN fighters, to the top ranked fighters, whoever pays you is in charge. Simple. Look at your household. Is it a co-promotional deal with your neighbor? No. Um, you pay for your kids to go on that trip, right? And that's what we gotta get back to. Like LeVar Ball. Yeah, I remember we was going. Was it Ticket? Shout out to I ain't spoke to Ticket in a long time, but me and Ticket debated LeVar Ball, and I said LeVar Ball is a breath of fresh air. Nike Nike infiltrated the market space and told you LeVar Ball was bad for the basketball. The NBA led a campaign. They used ESPN to use them to diminish LeVar Ball. But guess what happened? LeVar Ball wanted the shoe company. Nike put money out and said it's too much, right? So LeVar Ball, and then LeVar Ball started his own league. So the high school players don't have to go to college. They can just go get drafted. The NBA purposely tried to make that fail by signing the players that should have been in the league. And what did the NBA do? They created the same league that LeVar Ball created. He's not going to get the credit for it, but that's really, really what happened. So at the end of the day, what will Terence Crawford, the $1 million slave, and Devin Haney, the demoted champ, is going to do? It's simply that. Like, what is Fred going to do? Is Fred going to cry that I lost thousands of dollars and I have no chance at getting in the Hall of Fame now? Am I going to cry? Or am I going to dust myself off? I didn't even fall. I wouldn't even dust myself off. What am I going to do? I'm going to create the shop. And we're going to open it up Sunday to Thursday, 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time until. That's what we're going to do. And we're going to get the hottest guests ever. That's what we're going to do. And I'm just as powerful, if not more. Yeah, there's a boost to the ego when you do an interview and it goes viral and everybody's talking about it. When I had boots on the ground, because if I get you one on one, it's gonna go boxing viral. Like that's just I'm that talented of a journalist. So um, do I miss it sometimes? But honestly, I don't like Sunday morning when I got to get on the plane and go home. I don't like that. I really enjoy now. I really enjoy Saturday night watching fights with my kids. I haven't accepted no free tickets from nobody. Not Sam Watson. Mr. Haney always offers me tickets. I don't accept nothing from the establishment. I am anti-establishment at this point. I don't want nothing free. That's the mindset I have. Do I love and respect those men? Yes. Am I grateful for them? Yes, but I know they are a part of the establishment. If I take a ticket from Sam Watson, I am complicit with the establishment. I can call Sam Watson and get tickets for free anytime I want to. I'm pretty sure the same about Mr. Haney, but I choose not to because that makes me complicit with the establishment. Yeah, for real. So I've given the game. Matter of fact, my platform was the genesis again of Errol Spence. Excuse me. That's true boxing talk. Errol Spence, Terence Crawford. But I will say, my interview when Earl was getting out the cab took that to whole conversation to a whole nother level. You know what I mean? I passed the baton back to Trill, and they've been running with it ever since. But that we will. Let me tell you something about that Gary Russell Devin Haney fight. We wasn't mature enough. Like we want a revolution, but we go to the grocery store. We can't we can't want a revolution and then have to go to the grocery store to feed us. We can't want a revolution and all our money's in the bank. We can't want a revolution but don't own acres where we can be safe. And that's the same thing with the Gary Russell fight. We was not mature enough to put on the Gary Russell fight. We should have been saying, make the fight. We should have been echoing what I was saying on my platform. Make the fight. We got people arguing. Oh, Bill Haney said this. Bill Haney talking with Cap. Gary Russell's lying. He won't sign the contract. Do y'all understand big picture? Imagine someone telling Harriet Tubman, I know a better route. Harriet Tubman saying, no, I got the houses already set up. I got it mapped out. Could we get there 2 days sooner? Maybe. But this is the route that we got to take to be successful. I know. I've done it. Gary Russell, Devin Haney could have been the Underground Railroad. No doubt in my mind. But we debating. It was the hottest thing on the internet. People getting 3,000 people in their lives. I've done my part. I've done my part. I've exhausted my resources. I've talked to the WBC on behalf of everything. I've talked to Bob Arum on behalf of Terence Crawford and Devin Haney and making these fights. I gave Gary Russell a platform to express himself. It worked. We didn't execute. We as black men in boxing, we are the guy that catches the football 10 yards past his closest defender and fumbles the ball because he wants to be cute right before he crosses the goal line and he drops it at the half-yard line. And the 10 guy grabs it, and guess what's a touchback on the defense? They get the ball at the 20-yard line, and you take 7 points off the scoreboard. That's us as a people in boxing. That's us as a people in real life. We didn't hold LeBron James accountable. Colin Kaepernick agreed to seal the case, which means he took money. Y'all thought him not training in an NFL facility, you thought he moved it on purpose? No. He can never go back to an NFL facility again. Don't you understand that? You couldn't put 2 and 2 together? The case is sealed, and on his tryout, he's doing it in a high school. He had to move it. That's what the agreement was. He could never go back to the NFL again. He hasn't even gone back as a fan. He's complicit. Does that take away from him as a great human being who started them? No. I'm telling you the actual steps that need to happen. Martin Luther King realized he was a puppet in 65. The last 3 years of his life, he woke up. Malcolm X was woke, but his last year of his life, he really woke up as it pertains to the Nation of Islam and them stealing money and having sex with underage girls and it being a racket. And he stood up. He stood up. You know how brazen you got to be as a leader like Martin Luther King and Malcolm X who stand up against the very establishment that's financially, physically, and spiritually supporting you. Martin Luther King knew if he stood up against this, they were going to expose his infidelities. Malcolm X knew if he stood up, he was going to get his house taken, he was going to get his $1,000 stipend taken away, and he was going to be broke, but he was going to have to find a way to create revenue. They took that risk. And you mean to tell me fighters can't take a risk? I've taken the risk. Anyhow, 9 Wives, click the link below. I gotta go take a shower. Got a show tonight, 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's gonna be an extraordinary show. Um, and I believe, and I stand on every word that I said, and every word I say is out of love. I don't want this taken out of context. Fred taking shots at Terence Crawford, Team Haney, excuse me, Team Crawford, Team Haney. I only can tell what I believe to be the truth, my perspective to be the truth. And if you don't believe me, I'm going to say it for the last time. I too graduated from a PWI, predominantly white institution, where a white Anglo-Saxon U.S. president graduated from. Barbershop Conversations, 9 Wise. Click the link below. Holla, peace.